Hey, it's time for another edition of the Cseekly Recap. I'm your host Csomm, and I'm here to go a bit deeper into the topics that I've covered in my shorts. The footage behind is from the game Tainted Grail Conquest. Let's get the show on the road. Our first article of the day is all about Black Flag. So Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Remake announcement and release are expected soon. The remake, rumored to be developed by Ubisoft Singapore, will reportedly remove the modern-day sections and add more content for Edward Kenway. At face value, this is a great news, don't get me wrong, mainly because Black Flag was always one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, and I was always harboring hope that we will get something along the lines of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but a bit modern, so to speak. And then they released, or rather announced, Skull and Bones, which, again, everybody knows what the hell happened with that game. And let me tell you, it was a complete disaster, particularly them calling it, quadruple A or something like that. Man, those Ubisoft people are extremely delusional. There is no other way saying it. But anyway, apparently now this is happening. I reckon mainly because Skull and Bones failed, but also people kept asking about the remaster. So in that sense, this is a good news. But we are talking about Ubisoft here, so you gotta be extra cautious. First thing to consider is the price. I don't know how much that thing is going to cost, but knowing Ubisoft again, they will pimp up the price to no end. Then we need to talk about the features that are going to be injected in the game, so to speak, because apparently they will remove the modern day stuff and leave us only with Edward Kenway. I've played Black Flag so many times, I know everything by heart, so it makes me wonder what are they going to add in order to quote-unquote enrich the gameplay, because other than enhancing the game in graphical point of view, which to me doesn't really make sense because I don't really give a shit about graphics, it's all about gameplay as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bit confused because Black Flag as it is very good, and the only thing they can add is some kind of a Radiant quest or repeatable quest or whatever, and this is me just speculating, but you know, I will definitely check out everything that comes with the game in terms of more info, and I will be, let's say, cautiously optimistic until I see everything that I am interested about this particular remake. Also, we need to take into account that Ubisoft now is in shambles, with all the projects being cancelled left, right, and center, so this, even though it sounds good on paper, might not happen in real life anytime soon, because it might get cancelled. So yeah, this might be a win for Ubisoft, but knowing them, they can turn a win into a loss, just like that. Here's me hoping that everything is gonna turn out to be okay, and that we will get a proper remake that we all want and deserve. Next article is all about Fallout New Vegas, and it basically says that Fallout New Vegas, now considered one of the best in the series, took fans about 5 years to appreciate. Developers took a few more years to recognize the positive reception of their design choices. I think there are plenty stories and comments and everything along the lines how Fallout New Vegas was developed, and I don't really want to go deep into that. But what's interesting about this is they say that it took around 5 years for fans to appreciate it. I don't know about you guys, but when Fallout New Vegas came out, it was a hot mess, particularly when you're talking about bugs. It's well documented in what kind of a state the game launched, and I don't think it was because the developers wanted that, it was because, the circumstances. Since they only had, around 18 months to finish and publish the game, because that's how Bethesda wanted them to do it. So naturally, you're going to cut corners and do everything you can in order to push out the product based on your contractual obligations. And yes, the game was rough, but mainly because it didn't work properly. There are people saying that they were reusing Fallout 3 assets, but to me that doesn't really mean anything, to be honest. It just means that they were working smart, not hard. You could see back in the day that the game was amazing because all the choices you had and all the factions and all other gameplay elements, which pretty much makes me come to a conclusion that even though the game might be rough at the start, if it's a great game, it's still going to be great, no matter what happens, and it can only be better if you fix all the bugs, which will then result into game performing as it should. And if you want to go a bit deeper, When you see what Obsidian did with Fallout New Vegas, it makes you wonder why Bethesda didn't follow the same design in terms of, factions and all the gameplay features that they developed, like for example making ammo, which to me should have been immediately introduced with Fallout 4, but then they decided to milk the player base by selling it as a DLC. This kinda reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077 because Cyberpunk also launched in a very abysmal state, even though I personally didn't have any issues with bugs, but when I see what other people encountered, you cannot really ignore that stuff. But over time, mainly because they fixed stuff, the game lived up to its original concept, so to speak. So yeah, you can always fix bugs because the game is great, but you cannot fix a game that has shitty gameplay mechanics and then expect that people will like it. I'm looking at you, Starfield. Next story is about Remedy Entertainment, and they reported a 46.3% increase in Q4 2025 revenue, reaching 17 million, driven by royalties and sales of Alan Wake 2 and Control. Despite a 17% revenue increase for the full year, the company reported around 15 million operating loss due to underperformance of FBC Firebreak. They also appointed a new CEO, effective March 1st, 2026. I always liked Remedy Entertainment, especially when I discovered Alan Wake. And it's a strange thing because I'm not into horror genre, so to speak. But for some reason, Alan Wake and all that lore and setting and everything that goes with it kinda click with me. And so far, I have played everything that comes from the Alan Wake universe. And I gotta say, they are doing a pretty damn good job. With the release of Alan Wake 2, which I played 2 times, they cemented their position in my heart, so to speak, even more, to a point that I went and replayed all the Alan Wake games and Control in order to get up to date with the Alan Wake 2 stuff and what's happening in terms of lore and the characters, the usual thing. I know that they decided to exclusively release Alan Wake 2 on Epic Game Store, which to me personally is a bad decision. I think they could have done much better if they did both Epic and Steam. But then I stumbled upon an article when it said that they are actually very happy how their relationship with Epic Games was working, kinda pointing out that if they went with Steam it wouldn't be the same. So again, what do I know? I'm just, talking out of my ass based on the information that I have. And I reckon people who work at Remedy know much better what they are talking about in comparison to yours truly. But that doesn't mean we cannot have opinions, and if I'm proven wrong, I'm happy to accept it and move forward. In the end, all I can say is that I wish them the best. I want them to make even more games from Alan Wake universe, and hopefully they can grow even more and produce even better stuff. Speaking of producing new stuff, this next story is all about Subnautica, and they recently released a developer vlog focusing on multiplayer functionality, emphasizing that co-op play is entirely optional and won't impact the single-player experience. The vlog also showcases a new dive elevator feature, which enhances co-op gameplay and allows for easy item collection. Additionally, the game is being optimized for handheld devices and will offer cross-play functionality. Ever since I discovered Subnautica, I was completely enchanted by it, and I played it so many times. And I even played the second game, which is Subnautica Below Zero. And even though it wasn't up to standard, or at least what I expected, I still played it and enjoyed it. But it left that gap in me in terms of deeper sea exploration and all of these things that made the first game better. Well, apparently they kinda picked these things up, but also they decided to add multiplayer component, and to me that's great. Especially because I don't really need to play with other people and I won't be missing anything. And as far as I'm concerned, that's an amazing thing, and every single multiplayer game should have this in mind. It's always bad when you force people to play with others, especially when traditionally speaking certain games were always focused on single player experience. That's why, for example, when Diablo 4 released that raid of theirs, which pretty much forces you to play with other people, I immediately said no, because to me Diablo 4 is primarily a single player experience. And it's even worse because Blizzard acknowledged that 85% of people are playing solo. Well, it seems Subnautica people are much smarter than Blizzard, and this is what you get. You can still play the game co-op, but they will not hinder you with multiplayer features when you're playing as a single player game. And to me that's great. I also sneakingly saw some comments about Subnautica and Crafton and all that drama, and while that is all valid, you do need to understand that in order to assess a product, you need to remove yourself from all that drama bullshit. So I will play Subnautica 2 when it comes out, and I will judge the game based on how the game is, not who the owner is. You know, separate art from artist kind of a thing. Now, I'm not saying Crafton is not doing bullshit, but there are people who are working on Subnautica and they don't really care about that drama, they just want to do what they like, so that's basically where I'm coming from. Let's see how the game is going to evolve, and I'm looking forward playing Subnautica 2 when it comes out. More news regarding New Vegas, and this time it's all about Bethesda's initial pitch to Obsidian for Fallout New Vegas. Apparently, it was all about focusing on faction gameplay, a feature Bethesda couldn't implement in Fallout 3. And as we all know, Obsidian successfully delivered, allowing players to choose between factions like NCR, Caesar's Legion or Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House, while also making smaller choices that impacts the Mojave's fate. I talked about this in my previous news section, but again, I am so puzzled. How is Bethesda giving these particular instructions to Obsidian and then yet completely going against that in the next game? I mean, let's look at Fallout 4 factions. You have Brotherhood of Steel, you have Institute, Railroad, and Minutemen. And yes, we kinda satisfy the box of you need to have factions, but when you go a bit deeper and you see the way they interact with each other, compared to Fallout New Vegas, it's completely insane how they went from something that was so complex to something that's so simplified. I will never forget when I came to the end of the story and you have to choose between factions, and my first reaction was, okay, this is it, there is nothing else to do. It's basically you choose one faction and you wipe out others, or if you're with Minutemen you can kinda work with Railroad but not really. And then you remember what Fallout New Vegas did, and I was so flabbergasted. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And that to me killed the whole Fallout 4 story vibe, if there was any to begin with. And it essentially demotivated me to explore other options, to do playthroughs where I'm sticking only with one faction to see what's happening at the end. And it made me wonder who actually decided that this was a good idea, especially since we have the experiences from the previous game. Now you might go into, conspiracy theories and stuff like that and say that the original Bethesda team didn't really like the Obsidian team because they made better game, and then there was envy and let's ignore everything that happened in the previous game and so on and so forth. I mean, these things could be true, I don't know, but from a business standpoint, and especially from growing your player base, it would be completely dumb to do so, to be full of vanity and not acknowledge that other people actually made a good game and you just need to build on it to be even better. And this particular approach makes me worried about Fallout 5, because it seems that Bethesda, when you put stuff in front of them and you tell them, look, this actually works, people like this, and they're like, we're not gonna do that. We are just going to do our thing because, creative freedom, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And that's all nice and fine, but there are players too, and they are telling you, look, we like this, give us more of this, and then some, and they basically ignore you. Let this be a cautionary tale for everyone who is making a game. When you have a first game and people like it, and then you make a second game but you decide to remove the features and all the things that make the first game better just because you want to push an agenda. Please don't do that, because at the end it just makes everyone connected to that thing miserable. Now, speaking of misery, at least 1,200 Ubisoft employees are striking in response to recent restructuring, including studio closures, game cancellations, and return to office mandate. The strike was organized by a French syndicate union, and it's basically a protest against management decisions and a lack of pay rises. Another day, another Ubisoft dumpster fire. Also, to be honest, they should have went to strike much earlier, considering all kinds of bullshit that was happening. So to me, when you look at the situation currently, as we are speaking, this to me looks like too little too late kind of a thing. Ubisoft started going to shit way before, so what the hell were you guys doing? Then again, some people just moved on, but collectively speaking, I don't know. And to be honest, I'm not sure that this strike is gonna do anything good. In fact, all of these people who were striking might get fired, so basically go search for another job, so to speak. I'm sure there's going to be more news about what the hell is Ubisoft doing and what kind of a dumpster fire this company is, but to me, it seems that the company is not going to recover no matter what happens, because they lost so many good developers already, but also their fan base. That being said, fans are the ones who can make the change, and in this particular industry, the only thing that you can do is vote with your wallet. How effective this strategy is, I don't really know, but it seems to me that it's not working really well, since they're still pushing their agendas, which then turns this company into a shell of its former self. So yeah, I mean, I sympathize with the workers and all that, but at the end of the day, I don't think that a lot is going to change. Just take a look at a couple of videos that are talking about what the previous and the current Ubisoft employees are talking, how the systems in the company are working and the relationships and whatnot, and you will see that they are basically at the point of no return, or at least that's my view of it. Since we are talking about point of no return, this next story is rather interesting. Wildlight Entertainment, the developer of Highguard, laid off most of its team, including former level designer. Despite the layoffs, a core group of developers will continue to work on and support the game. Let's be real, did anyone else expected anything else from this situation with Highguard? I mean, I might be optimistic, but even I saw that this is not going to go anywhere. Fact being, ever since I saw the trailer after the Game Awards show, I thought to myself, who the hell is going to play this game? Who is this game for? But it seems that the management from Wildlight Entertainment thought it was a good idea. Well, apparently it wasn't. So let this be a cautionary tale for future developers. Don't make a game in a niche that's already oversaturated, especially if you're not bringing something completely revolutionary to the table. Because what these guys showed or produced has been seen so many times, but more importantly, it's bad. There's no two ways about it. You took the gameplay elements from other games that were good, and then somehow you made it even worse. So now I'm going to be a bit mean, and I will just say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And that's basically what I can say about the situation, because frankly, they don't really deserve more. It's just a waste of everybody's time. Speaking of wasting time, Crimson Desert is starting to become a huge time sink, which is a good thing. So in this article, Crimson Desert, an open-world action RPG, features a customizable protagonist, Cliff, and a highly customizable combat system. The game's latest feature overview delves into the continent of Highwell, highlighting the Greymane's camp as a central hub for survival crafting, resource management, and faction rebuilding. Players will engage in activities like cooking, crafting, and gathering to support their journey and reclaim the lost homeland of Payloon. Like I said before this article, this game has so many things. I think it's gonna take around 200 hours to fully finish it, because these people just keep dishing all kinds of content. Now you can cook, you can craft, you can do this, you can do that. It's insane. Is it a bad thing? Not really. But now, given the fact all we know, will it live to its expectations? If you're expecting a lot from the game, probably not. But if you temper your expectations a bit, I think it's going to be okay. I myself don't expect anything from the game. I think, as far as I'm concerned, I kinda transcended this particular I expect thing. And I just go as blindly as I can in the game, ignoring all the things that I have seen. And then based on what I see in-game, I will give my opinion, because expecting one thing and then living through it from a different point of view, it's always a bad thing and you get disappointed. It's hard to keep this mindset continuously, but over the years it kinda helped me, so I reckon it's all good. I'm very curious what Crimson Desert can offer, but more importantly, I'm curious whether or not it can live up to other people's expectations. Or at least the expectations that I've seen with people commenting on YouTube when they are releasing these overviews, videos, or whatever they're doing. So at the end, the only thing I can say to them is good luck, and hopefully the game is good and people will like it. Speaking of good games and people liking them, the God of War Original Trilogy Remake was announced during the PlayStation State of Play, with TC Carson confirming its active development. Additionally, the 2D game God of War Sons of Sparta, featuring hand-drawn pixel animation and new creatures, was also announced and it's available now. I will never say no to more Kratos, especially for the original trilogy remake. I know some people didn't have the chance to play it and would definitely like to explore that part of his story. So when you look at it from this point of view, I think it's a great win. They probably won't make it the way it was done back in the day, so I'm guessing something along the lines of what we were seeing in the latest games. Because if they just reskin it, so to speak, I don't think people are going to be very pleased with the whole situation. I mean, you can probably play these games on some kind of emulator, but not all people are like me. I don't really give a shit about graphics, but these days everybody's about photorealism, amazing graphics, ray tracing and whatnot, so I reckon if they don't do it like that, it's not going to be a good remake. The other thing that I want to talk about this particular story is this 2D game, God of War Sons of Sparta. My first reaction was, who the hell is going to play this and who is this for? And when I saw the price, I was like, ain't no way I'm buying this game and trying it, because for what I'm getting, or at least what I see, and the money that I'm paying, I'm simply not going to engage with this. I mean, 2D side-scroller thing, which is something from what, 2000s or something like that? I don't know, man. I don't know what they had in their mind with this situation. If I didn't know better, I would just say that this was some kind of a random project which was designed to launder some kind of money, because they can do this as simple as possible with the 2D stuff, the game, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, why? Who is this for? I don't really understand. But hey, you know, people do what people do, so let them have their fun. We are probably going to figure out how much money was spent in developing this game and how much money was earned in like a 2 or 3 year period, so yeah, sure, whatever. I definitely know that I'm not buying it, so knock yourselves out if you want to play more Kratos as a 2D side action shooter scroller thing, whatever the hell that is. This next story is all about Diablo 4's Lord of Hatred expansion. Apparently they're removing passive skills from class trees to focus on customization through gear, Paragon board, and legendary aspects. Active skills will receive new customization options with 80 new and 40 rework skills available to all players, and 20 additional choices for expansion owners. The expansion will also introduce new Warlock class, the War Plans endgame, and the Skobos region. I really didn't think this day would happen, but it seems, after 2 years or something like that, Diablo 4 is finally coming out of the beta. Because at this point, what we were playing before, that was just beta. There's no two ways about it. When you see what the game went through and how they were adding features to it, particularly stuff that they said they don't want to add from Diablo 3, well, they ended up adding it regardless. It's just so mind-boggling to me how Blizzard operates. Instead of giving us upgraded version of Diablo 3 with all the stuff that we have now, particularly in terms of graphical fidelity, they basically went 2 steps backwards and produced Diablo 4 in its current form, so to speak. So technically speaking, in order to play proper Diablo 4 experience, you gotta give to them at least around $120, and then you get the full game, like, you know, most of us expect it to be. Now, don't get me wrong, I played all the seasons of the game, and some of them were fun, so to speak, but it was never to a level of, okay, this is definitely a next-gen Diablo 4. No, this is Diablo 4 beta that you're testing for them and giving them feedback in order for them to figure out what makes Diablo 4 great. At this point, they should have just gathered all the top streamers. Hell, I could have gone to fucking Blizzard headquarters and tell them, do this, do that, and the game will be good. But no, they decided to go this extra mile, so to speak, and then finally produce something that, you know, you could say it's a proper finished product. I don't know what's going to happen when the new expansion hits. I will definitely play it and I will definitely review it. But was it really necessary to spend this much time in order to give us something proper? Oh god, Blizzard never learns. Either they are too dumb to do this, or they are very smart and just milking us. Whatever may be the case, it's absolutely disgusting. Speaking about disgusting stuff, technical artist at Wildlight Entertainment blames the negative reception of Highguard on gamer slander. He claims the game was review bombed and unfairly criticized, leading to its downfall. Despite initial excitement, the game's current player count is significantly lower than at launch. I'm going to be very blunt about this particular news, and I'll just say that this John Sobel guy, whatever the fuck his name is, he needs Jesus. There's no other way of saying this. He blames people for not liking his slop, as if we have to do it because they worked on it and now they need to receive good stuff for the bad shit they produced. Where the fuck is this guy coming from? Who the hell put these stupid thoughts in his head to make these outrageous claims? First of all, Mr. Sobel, your game is shit because it is shit, not because everyone is against you. Like I said in the previous article, as soon as I saw the trailer that was shown on the Game Awards, I knew immediately this is going to fail. Now, if you don't see these things, and you are the one who is producing the game or working on it or whatever, I think you have a problem. And you should definitely consult a, physician or something like that to help you out, because delusional people need help. They shouldn't be ridiculed. They genuinely need help. And this Josh Sobel person is definitely 100% delusional. I've been checking out the game and people quitting after 1 hour of playing. I mean, what the fuck do you expect? It's a game that you play a match or so for like 30 minutes, and in an hour you can actually see what it's all about. You don't need to spend 50 fucking hours in it like it's some kind of a RPG or other open world RPG or whatever the fuck it is. You can see it immediately if it vibes with you, if it doesn't vibe with you, if it's good, and if it is bad. And trust me, it's bad. You cannot run from the facts, but he wants to. So again, he needs help, because no sane person would say stupid shit like this. Overall, I don't think I'm going to cover this news about Highguard anymore, because we are just giving this person more publicity than he deserves. This game should be buried and forgotten, just like it happened with Concord, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you desire, it's what the reality of the situation is. And the reality of the situation is that your game is bad and people don't want to play it, and then you just move on, find something else to do in your life if you're not competent on making a proper game, or you forget about it and try harder next time. Jesus Christ, some people... it's wild, man. It is wild. The final news story of this particular recap is all about John Wick. Yeah, they're making a John Wick game. Amazing, isn't it? It was released at PlayStation State of Play and is going to be developed by Lionsgate and Saber Interactive. Additionally, they're going to team up with a franchise director in order to make it as authentic as possible. I'm going to be really brief about this particular news because, again, there is not a lot to talk about because we don't have a title, we don't have gameplay, we don't have anything. So in that sense, I would just say I'm a huge fan of John Wick. There is no two ways about it, and knowing that there is a game in development, it makes me very happy. Especially seeing Keanu interact with this video game industry more, as we've seen in Cyberpunk 2077. So that being said, I'm looking forward to see what they're going to produce, and hopefully the game will be good, or rather it will encompass everything that is good in the John Wick universe throughout the movies and whatnot, and it will translate that energy in a video game package. And that's basically it when it comes to the news that I have covered this week. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I encourage you to leave comments. I read all of them, and I'm very happy to interact there with you guys. Also, if you enjoy the content, consider liking it and subscribing for more discussions like this. And that's it from me, until the next one.